Now for the top story tonight, reaction joining us from Washington, Richard Salmon, Senior Associate Editor of the Kiplinger Letter. And here in New York City, Dr. David Rothschild, founder of PredictWise.com. So PredictWise, what's your prediction?
Well, right now, we're looking at about 70% that Hillary Clinton defeats Donald Trump.
And that's the same odds they have in London.
That is the same odds.
Yeah.
So we're looking very closely at the prediction markets. These are places where people buy and sell contracts that are worth money if they win, worth money, no money if they lose, and they're saying about 70%.
Now, you can't bet on the presidential race in America. It's illegal, correct?
Well, actually, you can. There's smaller places that the CFTC has allowed, so PredictIt and
Where, on the internet?
On the internet.
But you can't, Vegas won't take the money.
Vegas won't take the money. It's capped at $850 per contract, but you could go to PredictIt and make these bets. And what we're seeing here is that this sort of splits the difference between the fundamental models that say, look, generic Republican, generic Democrat, you're at a toss-up, maybe slight Democratic edge, and these hypothetical matchup polls, which are showing Hillary Clinton dominating Donald Trump. But these are still very early, and most people don't know who the nominee is.
Yeah, and the odds change, obviously. So it's 70% Hillary, 30% Trump.
That's right.
How do you see it, Mr. Salmon?
Oh, let's move it straight up to November, and I'd give Hillary Clinton 2 and 3 chances of being elected. 1 out of 3 chances is not nothing. What Trump needs to do, needs to win Florida. He needs to keep his base really excited the whole way through. And he also needs them to turn out. He needs them to replace votes that he loses in the women's sector, in the minority sector, and yes, he has a 1/3 chance. He also needs to perform extremely well in the presidential debates, which are different than the primary debates.
You know what, Mr. Salmon? I believe there is a chance that Hillary Clinton won't debate him. And she'll say, particularly if it gets really nasty and personal, she'll say, look, I'm not going to put myself through it. I don't know. I mean, I can't predict that will happen, but there's a chance, because I'm trying to put myself in each candidate's shoes, and if Trump is really going to town on Monica Lewinsky and these things, I don't think Ms. Clinton will show up, and she'll say, look, nobody would. So, but if it does happen, a Clinton-Trump debate, I think you're right, that doctor could just put this whole thing on its ear, right?
Well, I think the interesting question is, where is this uncertainty? And you're hearing this question about the debates. Well, the debates are pretty late in the game. Very few people really change their mind that late. And also, voter turnout is pretty sticky. Year after year, the same sort of people turn out. I'm going to question one thing you said at the top, which is this question, is it better for Trump to be thinking about pulling off Ohio, Virginia, the kind of classical swing states, or leapfrogging over to Michigan and Pennsylvania? And I think that if he actually has a chance, it's actually going to be in the slight changes in those states that have been historically tight swings.
Yeah, the ones that are really hurting economically, I agree with you, would be the states that he could spend a lot of time in and perhaps, you know, turn it around. But they have to have a lot of electoral votes. Is it fair, Mr. Salmon, when you take a look at it, that a state like California, that's a Hillary Clinton state, no matter what Trump does?
Yeah, I agree with you.
All right, so that's an enormous amount of electoral votes right there. Now, Texas will be a Donald Trump state, no matter what Hillary Clinton. I don't even think you're going to see Hillary Clinton in Texas. You didn't see Barack Obama. I think he went down there once. New York, Trump's home state, more than 2-to-1 Democrat to Republican registered, no more than 2-to-1. Trump could win here, but he'd have to do much better in the New York City area, which is friendly Clinton territory. So just in the Electoral College, it looks like Donald Trump doesn't have much margin for error at all.
I'd keep an eye on New York. You make a good point. New York doesn't have to be always in the Democratic side of the equation. There's a lot of rural areas that support Donald Trump. There's a lot of the city that does too. And also, there's a lot of people who don't want another Clinton again. And so New York could be in play. The same is true with Pennsylvania. It almost always goes Democratic. That's because of the Philadelphia metropolitan area. You look at the middle of Pennsylvania, that could become very competitive. And remember, we're in a volatile year. Not every forecast of every state is going to hold true 1 month to the next.
Okay. Let me disagree with Mr. Salmon on that, which is to say that if you're thinking about electoral strategy, if he wins New York, he's probably won 47 other states. We don't see the dramatic types of swings that we've seen previous to 1980, previous to 1992. We're seeing a much more stable environment. There is not that much shift in turnout from cycle to cycle. There is very little shift in sentiment for most people. You have a third of the population that heavily identifies with one party, a third of the population that heavily identifies with the other party, and those independents, most of them vote the same way year in and year out.
But this one, you have the
cycle.
personalities that are much, much larger, although Barack Obama was a big personality. But this one, but I do concur that right now Mrs. Clinton is in a power position, but there's so many variables surrounding her that it could change. But you guys were good tonight. I want to bring you back, for an update maybe every 6 or 7 weeks to see how things change. Gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you.
Next